Better your service than ours. Wow.
Action.
No, yours is better than ours.
It is much better than North Carolina.
Yeah.
Just put that up.
Pasha just got in the last part 2 years.
All right.
Oh. All other staff.
Hey!
You're live on Facebook. Sign in. We're waiting for you.
Okay, so who here is excited to learn about being a small group leader?
Woo! And who here is excited to have fun and connect with the community at the same time?
Alrighty, so my name is Chris Austin and I am ML1. I did my trainings about 8 years ago. I am the very first member of the gratitude training team to come through these trainings. It's been an awesome ride. Like I said, I did my trainings about 8 years ago. From that point on, I stepped in and was continuously in service. I was a small group leader, I seniored, I've captained, I created the Feast and Cradle Master position here at Gratitude Training, and I volunteered that for years in the community. I was then hired as a training coordinator for about 2 years, and then I was moved up to training manager of the Gratitude Training for about another 3 years or so. So I worked here at Gratitude Training for about 5 years. I just recently, as of October 1st, stepped down as training manager to pursue my training career here as trainer at Gratitude Training. I have been hired as a Gratitude trainer. I'm very excited. My first training is on November 30th. So your friends and family that will be in that second weekend, I will be blessed to be in there with all of them on November 30th. And that's where I am at, as far as where I've come from. My background before this was in education. I worked in education for 14 years. So when I stepped into gratitude training, into being a trainer, to me it was just the next level of teaching and making a difference in the world and working with like-minded people. And now I get to make a difference for their parents and their families. And I continue to step into transformation only every day. And I can't wait to connect with the community and be a part of it for years to come. And I'm really excited to be here.
And my name is Jay Ehrlich. Most of you know me either as the training coordinator here, or I've been in a lot of your trainings, or trainings that maybe you've been a small group leader before. So I did my trainings about 3 years ago. I'm ML7 Fort Lauderdale. And after I completed ML, I've just been in service with Gratitude nonstop ever since. And that's also what gave me my position here as the training coordinator. And one thing that I loved about this work is being in service and giving back, reinforcing what I learned, giving it back, which continuously reinforces it within me. And that's how I was starting to learn and build and grow in the community of transformation and in gratitude training. So much so that I was inspired to move on to Trainer Forum. We actually did Trainer Forum together. We started about 2 years ago, and we completed. And now we're graduating the internship here. I'm also hired as a trainer for gratitude training, so I'm really excited about that. And yeah, it's really an honor and a pleasure to be here with all of you. So with that being said, I want to thank you all for coming out tonight, because you guys had to, some of you I already know, really had to work around your schedule. Some of you actually hired babysitters to be here. Some of you brought your baby to be here. Other people, like maybe, who knows, some people you could go out to dinner, you could be curled up watching Netflix. Whatever the case, you're here. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, and it means a lot to me too. Like a lot of you, it was a simple text message, and every single one of you, as I look out in this room, have made a difference in my transformational journey. And it was, of course, from a lot of you, and I know some of you are here because maybe somebody else reached out to you because you couldn't be here tonight. And I have so much gratitude, like as I look like over this room right now and see these faces, and I can remember literally each and every one of you on your stretch night. I've been in every single one of your part twos as I just realized that as you're all sitting here. And it means so much to me that you all came out here tonight, and especially in South Florida traffic, at this time. So thank you. I really can't thank you enough from the bottom of my heart. So with that, we're started. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Alright, awesome. So we are here to go, so we call it step part 4. Okay, we say part 4 because you graduate and then everyone's always like, what's next? So it's starting to become a thing around here that we call being a small group leader part 4. Okay, so, it's the next level of being in service. It's the next thing that you get to step into after you graduated Master for Living. Okay? With that being said, how many of you in here are currently in Master for Living? Show of hands. All right, awesome, thanks. Well, welcome. Have any of you staffed yet? Not yet. You did. Awesome. You just staffed this last training, the part 1?
Part 1 and 2.
1, 2, anything about this.
Oh, nice.
Right.
Awesome.
Always.
Yeah, it always excites me to see current MLers in a room like this because that tells me that you guys are looking for what's next and continuously taking yourself on. Same thing with graduates. You could be doing anything, but you guys are continuing to come back here and be in service, constantly. So we call it part 4 because I think it's next level, okay? It's a way for you to continue the trainings and get so much more even out of it. Okay, so that's where we come up with the name Part 4. Being a small group leader, we're going to jump right into it, and what is it? Okay, so there's lots of things. I hear people a lot in the community going, I don't know if I have what it takes, or I'm too afraid, to be a small group leader. What are the qualifications? You are the qualifications. That's it. Like who you are, perfect, whole, complete, are the qualifications to be a small group leader, is to show up, be coachable, and be willing to make a mistake and jump back in. That's what it takes to be a small group leader, period, okay? So I would love to hear from some of you, because as I look around, a lot of you have been either small group leaders or captain or somewhere along the lines. Barca, I have to acknowledge you. Barca was our Part 1 master for how long? Yeah, 2 years. She was our Part 1 master, always in service, and I haven't seen her in so long. And she was one of those, I just sent a text, and here she is. So, I mean, definition of service right here for years to our community, Barca. So I just wanted to acknowledge you for that being here too. So I would love to hear from some of you of what it is to you being a small group leader. So when you hear, hey, I want to go be a small group leader, or what is it to be a small group leader? Like just say a couple things, what it means to be to you. Yes, we're going to participate tonight. Who's excited about that? Yay! Okay. So what that's going to look like is you'll just say your name. We're not going to do the stand up, say your name thing here. You're going to just say your name and just share a little bit of what it is to be a small group leader for you.
So I'll start.
I'm just going to add, let's also speak up because we're competing with the rock band next door. So let's make sure everybody can hear.
Yeah,
So
Mayor.
And
it
for the
took
North
me
Carolina
close.
folks, this is the drums, yeah.
It took me close to a year to think I had anything about what it took to be a small group leader, because I had conversations that I didn't think I had what it took. And once I started, I haven't stopped. So being a small group leader is being in service to others, being committed to their commitments, being a stand for people, being in service, and you have captains and trainers, and when they're asking things of you, it's like, I'm here in service to all of you, and I got it, and surrendering to whatever it is, and trusting the process. So.
Thanks, Mark. And I got to ask you, but how many times have you been in service and probably been a small group leader?
How many teams?
Probably close to 40 times.
40 times.
Close to.
We call him the mayor. That's his name, the mayor. So 40 times.
I think I'm on my 9th ML right now, I believe.
That's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Thanks, Mark. Anyone else? It's like a couple other of you. Hi, Reed. Thanks for coming.
My name is Pasha Sky, ML11 for Lauderdale. The reason why I choose to be in service and a small group leader or a captain is because that it gives me a possibility to be fully outward focused, and in that space I'm able to experience my authentic self, which I really appreciate, and it's a sacred space to me. So being outward focused and being in service to the people in the community is why I do it.
Jay Cunningham. Being a small group leader to me, I've done two part ones and one part two right now. And what it is to me is in service to myself as much as I am to the community that I'm serving at the time. What I've learned being in there, I've heard over and over again that you get twice as much out of being a small group leader as you do actually going through the training. So I opened that up for myself, and I took myself on in areas where I didn't take myself on in my own classes. So being in service to yourself as much as you are to the community, and being an excellence to your students as you're there.
Could you speak into a little bit more of that about being an excellence to the students?
Being an excellence to the students means, to me, is you take on your jobs to the next level that you never thought you could take it. Being rigorous, being present the whole time you're there, taking care of your needs as they arise, and still being there for the students when they're in need of you being there. And that's really what I think excellence is. And it is. It's a tough job, and it's so rewarding. I can't even explain how rewarding it is.
Joan
Anyone
Solomon?
else? Or do you want to do?
I do. Yeah, so I was a apartment master, and I joke about it that they should really charge people to be longer leaders because I got more out of that than, and I'm not trivializing any of the other parts at all, but it's just the next level. It is part 4, and I agree with everything that Mark said, or everybody else said, Lasha said, everybody else said. So it is being a stand for other people, and also, I'm a very strong personality, and part 1 of all places where, shitheads like me walk up towards me, it's an amazing feeling, and then, being a stand for them and seeing them succeed is just, it's life-changing.
Thank you. Anyone else? Dying. Dana, yes.
For me, it put all the pieces together of all of the training, and the biggest thing that stood out was I really get to be the source of a transformed world now, and look at all the trainings together. Like it puts it together in a way I never saw it while I sat in the training, and while being in service to someone else. Because the more I give, the more I got to receive.
That's awesome. It's a perfect transition to where I want to go, Dana. So thank you for that. Jay's going to be my sign turner and my easel writer tonight because I broke my ankle. Oh. But then I came back. Yay! Okay. So he is going to support me in writing. And I say, perfect transition, being a small group leader. We want to talk about what it is and what it is not. Okay? It's really important. And I say great transition because you use the word source, right? That's what you spoke into, Dana?
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. Why don't we write that it is source? So what do you mean by source, Dana?
I get to be in such a way that I'm a stand for a transformed world now. Like, if my vision and value is love, unity, abundance, and sustainability, I get to be that now and not wait for it to show up, or I get to bring that with me.
Awesome, thank you. Anyone else want to chime in on source really quick?
I would like to elaborate a different direction of it. So
Say your
I
name.
feel like, what?
Your name for everybody.
Maddie. Hi.
Hi, man.
Hi, Maddie. Hi, guys. So source for me, like what it means being source as a small group leader is the way that I'm showing up, the way that I'm living, and the way I'm being, and the things I'm doing is going to be a direct correlation to like how the students and everyone else is showing up on the team, and the way that the team, I guess, how connected they are, how if I'm committed to my commitments, how committed to their commitments they're going to be. And I believe it's like the way I'm being, the things I'm doing, the way I'm showing up, it's going to result in like how the team shows up, how my students show up, and even more elaborated, like in that would be like how I'm being is how the world is going to show up too. Like I'm a direct source for everything in a sense. So that's how I interpret it.
Yeah, so in gratitude training context, we say that when we are being the source, that we are being the cause, the generator. If it's happening, I'm having it happen. So we say, you see this a lot as a small group leader in part 2 and even part 1, that when you check in with yourself and your thoughts, like, you are so powerful that whatever you're thinking can actually come out of the mouth of a student, like in the training room. Because you're energetically flowing from you to them, anything that's happening in that room. So if you're having a moment of like, oh wow, there's a lot of tension in here, then who gets to shift that? Yeah, I do, right? So we get to look at that I'm the one having it happen. So vulnerability gets to be brought in. You're sitting at that back table with small group leaders, and what that means is that you are outward focused, and you are committed to shifting any way of being that you possibly need to shift to have a certain outcome happen. Does that make sense to everybody? No, you said it. Like, you did. You're saying that you're the cause, you're the generator, you're having it happen. It's where the woo-woo and the magic of this work really come in. You know? It's fun, it's a fun game I like to play in part 2 in particular, as a small group leader. And those of you that staff part 2, you know what I'm talking about. I meant be a coach. We don't say staff anymore. It's coach. That's another thing. We don't say staff anymore. We say coach and being a small group leader. So you might hear me slip a little bit tonight because it's new. Right? So what else? What else is being a small group leader?
A stand.
Okay, yep. A stand. Pasha, you love that word. What is it to be a stand?
It is taking a stand for the student's greatness and not falling into the conversations and the limiting beliefs that serve as an excuse to not achieve that greatness. So seeing past the limitations and being source for the greatness by being the best version of ourselves that we can be.
Yeah, and it almost sounds like I hear you saying also at the same time a contribution. You know, like when you're being a stand, you're contributing to another human being. You know, you're standing for their greatness. You're standing for their commitments. You know, so it's also contribution, if you want to add that up there. Vanna. Vano. I call you Vano.
Van.
Okay. So it's being a contribution, it's being a stand, it's being a commitment. Being a small group leader is a commitment, and a commitment to their commitments, not what you think it should look like. I want to be clear about that as small group leaders. We can go in there and think that we know what somebody's breakthrough should be in a training, based on like whatever we might know about that person or what we've heard them sharing. We don't know anything, and that's where space comes from being a small group leader. That we are committed to their commitments and to what they're committed to breaking through in a trainer in the training. And it's really important as small group leaders that we don't put our own thoughts on other people's breakthroughs. It's really important that we come from a clean space. Being a small group leader is also being rigorous, right? We say jigger around here, which is joyful rigor. You don't like that, Alicia? All right. I say jigger, which is, I think ML1 Fort Lauderdale actually created that many years ago with that coming in. But we say being rigorous. So being a small group leader is being a distinction. You are a distinction. They walk into that room and they want to be like you. You guys, whether you realize it or not, stand out. You're looking hot, you're looking sharp, you're a distinction, the way that you carry yourself, the ways of being that you're accessing. They want to, some of them will be like, I want what they have. They might not say that to you, but I know for sure in part 2, when the part 2 trainer says, what did you notice about your small group leaders? If you listen to what they notice about you, it's always amazing, like amazingness that you guys speak into. So when we talk about rigor, we talk about that we're sitting on the edge of our seats, that we're being present, that we're paying attention, that there's nowhere else I would be. We're not going and taking 1 million bathroom breaks or being out of the room to talk on the phone, that you're really getting that you are the source and that you're creating it, that you're dressed sharp and like you're ready to go. Like the mic runners in part 1 are like, they're like little ninjas, you know, back and forth. That's what rigor is, you know, picking up any piece of paper we see on the floor, keeping it in excellence, being a contribution to the space. We also, it's really important when you're a small group leader that you're a self-cleaning oven. Some of you might sit here and go, what does that mean to be a self-cleaning oven? It's exactly what you do with the oven. You turn it on, you walk away, and the shit gets clean, right? So here's the thing. We all are humans, we all have our stuff, But it's really important that when you step into leadership and being a small group leader, that you leave your baggage at the door. Okay? What I mean by that is you might get in a fight with your significant other that morning, or they might be texting you, you might have got a flat tire on the way in. There's going to be times when you're in a stressful situation or something that you guys might tag each other. You know, things might happen. And it's really important that you have the ability to check in with yourself as leaders and say, whoa, what's tagging me right now? What's backing me up? What is this being right now? Who do I get to be to get off of this? And have literally 5 minutes or less to get off of it, okay? Because nobody's got time for that in a training room, and your captains for sure aren't going to want to work with you, because if you're so in your stuff, you're not going to be able to be fully outward focused to the students. So that's one way that always supported me, that if I'm too worried about myself, there's no way that I'm being in service to another human being. And that was always the way, whether it was a backache, whether it was I was hungry, it was like, am I being in service to another human being? So it's being able to just get off of your stuff and own your tag and move forward and be outward focused and be in service. That's what we mean by self-cleaning up. Anyone else want to chime in about what you guys think is really important to be a small group leader and a way of being? Yeah.
I think you covered it, but just the word example.
Okay.
Being an example.
Yeah, being a distinction, being an example, being a leader.
Role model. So it's just
Role model? Absolutely. Yeah.
I would say being enrolling is a good component as well. Like
Yes.
encouraging the especially with part 2, how we're showing up is inspiring them that they too can do this. They can lean into the discomfort. They can lean into their self-limiting beliefs, and that we're the voice on the other side, inviting them to cross the line, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad that you said that, because that's your number one job, is enrollment. The purpose of a small group leader is to enroll people into part 2 and enroll people into Masterful Living. Period. End of story. That's your purpose. And everybody wants to, they just don't think that they can lots of times, or they have circumstances, or whatever it is. So what you're saying, Dustin, is so important, is that from the second they walk through the door, you are enrolling them. From when you're sitting at the back table to when you're doing your small group leader introductions, they notice you. They notice you throughout the whole training. When you're in the small groups, the way that you're being with them, you're inspiring them. You're enrolling them that yes, they can. You're their biggest champion. I can't tell you enough how, all of you guys are a small group leader. You know what I'm talking about. And those of you that have been a small group leader, it really matters, championing and being there and loving. Did you write loving and compassionate? I heard you guys say that. It's to be loved and to be compassionate. And we say here at Gratitude Training that compassion is love in action. And that's a great way to always look at compassion. You know, that it's able to put yourself in people's shoes, but you're actually taking action on it and putting something in to make a difference in somebody's life. That's what compassion is here. And it's absolutely desired, as a small group leader. It's also trust. Being a small group leader is all about trust. And we say trust with a capital T, meaning you want to trust the trainer, you want to trust the training, and you want to trust yourself. And by that, we mean that there's going to be times where, absolutely, if you feel that you can jump in and be a contribution to the training, there'll be times where you can jump in and do that, and a trainer might go, not right now. It doesn't mean that you're bad or wrong. It simply means that that's not where the trainer's intention was to go with the student, and that's where you get to trust that the trainer knows exactly what they are doing, and they're skilled to do that, and to not take it personally, and it doesn't mean that you can't jump in again, something like that. Trusting the training. The training works. Simply the training works. There's no need to put anything fancy or inventive in as a small group leader. You do the training the way that it's designed, and people will wake up and they will have breakthroughs. There's nothing fancy that you got to do as a small group leader. Just do it the way that you're told to do, kind of thing. What is not a small group leader? Okay. Yep, judgment. We don't judge people. Are you judging me right now? Okay.
You're not there to be their buddy.
Yep, not there to be their buddy. You're not their buddy.
An advice giver.
Yep.
You're not a psychotherapist.
So we got, you're not judging, you're not their buddy, they're not their friend. You're not advice givers. I heard some
Therapist.
therapists. That's a big one. You're not their therapist. You're not their sponsor, right? Like you're not their sponsor. You're not their parent.
Decision making.
Nobody wants a small group leader that's a mother or a
You're
father.
not there to rescue them. I heard, I was having a breakdown in my part too, and the trainer, the small group leaders were like trying to make me feel better, and Kathy Benson yelled down the hallway, "Don't make her feel better!"
Did they stop making
Yeah.
you feel better?
Yeah, so I got to do it for myself.
Yeah. No, it's good.
It's totally
it's good pointing
true,
out.
yeah.
You know, we say that all the time. Like, I don't know, when you guys are in the training, the trainer's like, don't give them a tissue. Stop hugging them.
Right.
I know you mean well. It's because it's designed that way
Yeah.
for people to have their breakthroughs. You know, you know, we care about your feelings, but we don't care about your feelings. You know what I'm saying? As far as small group leaders, we're coaching more on commitment. So it's not judging. It's not being a buddy, a friend, advice giving therapist, sponsor,
Or rescue.
parents. Let's put rescue up there. We're not like rescuing people. We're not counselors. Yep, nobody needs to be fixed. And we're not many trainers. This is important. We're not many trainers, especially lots of times that when we step into being in service a lot, it can easily happen. You can easily say, I got this, I know what I'm doing, Francine's gonna do this, Ryan's gonna do this, Chris is gonna do this, watch this, it's gonna be awesome. But you guys aren't the ones being mini trainers. Especially, there's sometimes when you're a small group leader, if somebody leaves the room, one of your jobs could be to just follow that person out to make sure that they're okay. That's why we follow people out. Those of you that haven't staffed yet and you're like, why are these people following me outside? As small group leaders, we do that to make sure that you're okay. Because some people, their stuff comes up, and they can get sick, pass out. I've seen it all. In the 8 years, what happens just when you think somebody's going to the bathroom. It's not always the case. So we follow them out, to make sure that they're okay. And that, lots of times, is where not many trainers comes in, is what I notice. And also in small groups, sometimes. What do you guys think I mean by, mini trainers? Who's had an experience of somebody maybe being a mini trainer to you that could speak into it, Well, what we mean by that, is that you guys, trainers are trained to work with people in a certain way, and they have a certain level of permission, okay? So automatically, when a trainer is on stage or in front of the room, they have earned that right with the student to work with them, to go to a certain place, to take them on in certain ways, to ask them certain questions. As small group leaders, we don't have that right. We haven't earned that, especially in part one. Especially. Yeah, you can, if you're a small group leader, there might be times in part two where you could make the difference and talk to them, but a small group leader should never be taking anybody on. Should never be doing anything like that or making any decisions about anything. So it's really important that we keep that, because the more we get in service and the more interns we have coming along the way, we're learning. And along this way, it would have been silly for us to think that we could be Francine or be Chris Delgado or be Ryan or the Santi brothers. We don't know. That's not what we're up to. So we're not mini trainers. So it's really important that we don't collapse that and overcoach people and take people on, because we don't have that permission. So those are some things that what it is to be a small group leader and what it is not. Okay. A couple other things really quick, that it's really important that when you're a small group leader that you're neutral. Okay. That you're neutral. That you don't show emotion. And what I mean by that, if somebody's telling you a horrific story, about something that happened, you want to be heartbreak for them. You want to be compassionate and loving, but you want to be present to your face. You want to be present to your body language. There's nothing more oh man, when somebody's telling something an event that happened to them, and the staff table is the small group table, is like this. It's not neutral. Okay? So if you're sitting back there going, or something like that, check your face, is what I say, because it matters. Some people have not shared anything their whole life. Like we have people coming out. We have people telling people they were, sexually abused for the first time. They say some heavy stuff in these trainings. And our job is to make sure that it's a safe space. So it's really important as a small group leader that we're asking questions, that we're not assuming anything, that our body language, that our facial expressions are all neutral, okay? And that we're not, again, that's not being judgmental. So you're either judgmental or neutral. Neutral is good. We should probably write neutral.
I put her in here.
Oh, you're so awesome. So neutral, we talked about enrollment. One thing I just want to say before Jay gets to do his little thing over here is confidentiality. Who loves confidentiality in the trainings? Yes. I don't really think I need to go into it, but there's been a couple things lately that have been coming up that I want to make sure as a community we're a stand for, that when you're a small group leader, you actually agree to small group leader ground rules. We actually have small group leader ground rules, and confidentiality is one of those that you agree to. Again, why wouldn't you? It's such an honor to be a small group leader in this room. Again, we are there to create trust. If you go back and if you think about your part 1 and your part 2, in the sacredness and the way that your heart opened up and the things that you were sharing, I doubt you would want anyone going and telling about those things. It's sacred, it's divine, and it's a safe space, and nothing bothers me more. It actually breaks my heart when certain people say something and I'll be like, how do you know that, or why do you know that? Like, please stop talking about that. Like, and I ask the community to not do that, and to be an interruption if you hear it. Don't participate in that and just say, oh, I wasn't in that training, you should probably stop right there. And that's honoring another human being. That's really standing for people. So it goes back to creating a safe space, and confidentiality is so important. I can't say it enough. That's my niche, confidentiality. It's a secret space. Being a small group leader is a 100% secret space. Okay? Alright, so Jay's gonna, what are you talking about, Jay? Oh, you're gonna talk about some good stuff about being a small group.
I am. I'm going to talk. So a lot of this is contextual, right? Context. So what I'm about to do is talk about some mechanics of being a small group leader. And this is important because if you want, first of all, actually, let me start with this. Some of you guys said you were an ML. Raise your hand if you have not had a first weekend yet. Okay, great. Raise your hand if you've not had a second weekend yet.
Miles.
Everybody's pointing at you. They raised their hand for you. Okay, great. So this is important to know. I don't know if a lot of you guys know this. Maybe some of you do. But in order to be a coach for a part 2, you must, or actually any training. Let me actually backtrack. In order to coach a training and be eligible to come to a small group leader selection, you get to have had a second weekend in ML first. That's the only requirement that we have. All right, and then you can show up to a selection, which typically lands on Thursdays, unless it's changed for any given reason, and we'll let you know. But what you do, who knows about the recent change that we did from GT GradWeb to the student portal online? Who knows about their student portal? And who has no idea what the heck I'm talking about? Okay, great. So at the end, we're actually going to be going into that a little bit more, but I'll give a brief overview. So our student portal, everybody has a portal online. It's a gratitude training portal, and you go into it, and it's like your little hub center, and you can go on and you can declare to be a giver through your gratitude portal. And you declare to, you can choose whichever training you want to be a small group leader for. And then through that, the captains that were chosen reach out to you, and that's how we get started. We add you to the group Facebook page. We let you know dates and logistics and times and all that good stuff, so you can participate and participate in the build that we create. Because what you're going to do is you're going to participate on some calls or some team building. So we used to have calls every Thursday. We're getting rid of distinction calls. Those are no longer. And what we're doing now is we're going to have a group team call. We're calling it the Monday night team build call. So it's going to be on Monday. And this is a time for your captains to connect with you. You're connecting as small group leaders if you declare. So, what do you think the importance is of having a team call like that to connect? To build team, okay? Anybody else?
To exchange information of what's going on with their students.
Okay. Well, this is pre-training.
Okay, so to give you information on what you're going to be doing in the trainings, different jobs, different ways of being with your
Okay.
I think it's also what I mean by building team is to get to know the people that you're going to be a small group leader with or coaching with, so that you can spot some of to get to know them. So like if we're at a training and I know you get tagged by whatever, then I can like hold you high and say, hey, like if you need a minute or whatever, something
Right.
where there's a connection, then I get to know you better than I did just by seeing you in the hallway.
So to connect on the calls, team building, creating connection, learning about your future teammates. Yeah.
It's also preparing you, because through all those calls, so many things show up, and it just guides you into what you need to be, what you need to bring when you are on the training. How to be the source, how to be the fan, like all those things are preparing you each and every call to be what you need to be.
Absolutely. You spoke into it and everybody else that just spoke, and I'm just going to elaborate on it. So what we do is we work with you, the captains and the small group leaders, we work together on the phone call, and it's really exciting because we do create connection. It is team building, and we really focus on making it fun. And we first of all, what we do is we create enrollment promises, because as a declared small group leader, everybody gets free, unlimited passes into that training that they're going to be doing. So it's so valuable when the declared small group leader enrolls people into their training. Not only is it more fulfilling for them, but like their friends are in there, their family, their loved ones. Like, just imagine what you can get out of it just because you've had that heavy hand in building the training that you're now in service to. It's incredible. So we work with that. And in addition to that, we discuss some distinctions, some of which we actually listed on here, but not all of them. So, we didn't, if you haven't done it yet, you're going to get to experience it, and it's fun, and it's amazing. So we also covered different distinctions. We land that. And all of this stuff, like you said, is to prepare you for what you're about to get into, not just in the room, but also on the phone calls afterwards, which leads me to my next section. Everybody gets a small group in the training, and you work with them, and you build trust, you build connection, you work with them, you coach them, and afterwards is actually the most important part of the training. Because a lot of people can be on and make it work in the training room, but where it really counts is outside the training room when you're on your phone calls with your small group. You then turn into their accountability coach. You're their biggest cheerleader. You're their yes, you can. And here's how we can do this, right? Your job as a small group leader is to hold up a mirror in their face so they can see where their blind spots are and what's holding them back from going after the life of their dreams. Because some of which we know what holds us back and limits us. But a lot of what the training does, it flushes up the things we don't know. And as we continue on, and as we continue on with the coaching and moving on into the different levels of the training, more and more open up for us, more and more things that stop us, that hold us back, that limit us. That's where part 2 comes in. So you're enrolling them from the moment they see you in the training, but especially afterwards. Because you can bet that they're going to have circumstances come up. Some people are going to have time. Some people are going to have money issues, working with babysitters, taking time off from work. You name it, it's there. And as source, usually a lot of the things that you work on, or if you have money conversations, chances are you might actually get some of that in your small group too. So it's an awesome opportunity to work with your team, and you might actually have a moment when you're talking to them on the phone, you're going to be like, Oh boy, I'm coaching myself right now. I know I've had that moment before, so I don't know if anybody, can anybody else relate that's been a small group leader? Take a look around, right? This is the importance of being a small group leader. It's giving back, holding people high, holding them accountable, and you also get so much in return. It's not just the reward of being there for them, but you get to look at what's next for you to take yourself on. What else is going on in your life, and through your coaching, so many other things can open up for you. So it's really amazing. And let's see what else. So in addition to that, let me go back to when you actually declare. Usually Thursdays are selection groundings, unless we let you know otherwise. So you get to attend selection. It usually is from 7 to approximately midnight. And we do it that way because we are committed to landing things for you, like distinctions in the training to be the most effective small group leader you can be, but also to create a lot of value for you. Okay? And then after that, we also have a technical grounding where we go over some of the flow of the training, depending if it's a part 1 or part 2, it'll be different. But in addition to that, we go over jobs. We solidify who's going to have what jobs in the training so we can all flow and come together and be one well-oiled machine. So that way when the training is on, you guys are on. You know what you're doing. You're clear on your jobs, and you know how to work as a team. Because we're also, like Chris Austin said earlier, we are that distinction of masterful living. They see us, they're like, whoa, I want a little bit of what that guy has or what that woman has, being the small group leader. And, so we're that example for them. So it's selections, tech groundings, and you get to attend all the days of the training. So it's no like, I can be in all the days except Saturday. I can't do that. Or maybe half this day Saturday. No, like you get to be in the entire training. Especially because you never know when you're going to be in small groups. And that's when we really need you the most in the room. Let's see, we spoke about coaching calls. Those are typically Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday. And if it's part 2 that you did, and then moving on to ML, then it's an additional Wednesday. And in addition to that, you have calls with your captain, because we are a coaching company after all. And, the coaches get coached. The captains have a coach too. Usually it's the training coordinator. But as a small group leader, you're going to be coached by your captains. And you're going to come to the calls. These are usually the alternative days, like Tuesdays and Thursdays. You're going to come to the call prepared with notes on your people. They're going to want to know what's going on for them, what are their circumstances, maybe how you're coaching them through that, what's going on, how are you working with them. And if there's anything shifting, how are they putting money down? Are they shifting from the training they just signed up for to a future one? Or are they going to shift from a future one to a more recent one coming up, which is always the goal. We always want you to have the maximum number of people going on into the training. And your number 1 role is to enroll your small group into going on to the next, either part 2 or masterful living, depending on what training you're going to be doing. So next, what we're going to do, we have a little extra. We're going to talk about, those are the basic minimum requirements. Now, here are some things that if you are this type of person, which I'm looking around the room, and I think everybody in here is. I know everybody in here. This is how SGLs own the training. These are like a little extra that if you really want to take ownership, this is what you get to do. So there's distinction calls. I told you earlier that we're actually getting rid of the Thursday distinction calls. So what we're doing is our lead trainers, Francine and Barry and Chris DeSanti, they're going to be re-recording distinctions, like we used to do on the distinction calls, but we're actually going to be having them do it separately, and you can listen to the distinctions to better prepare you even that much more to being in the room and working with your small group. In addition to that, you will be enrolling people into the training, because why the heck not? Especially if you have free passes, unlimited free passes into the training that you're going to be working on. Like, what else? That's so amazing. I mean, come on. That's like a $4.95 value, and you get that. They get that for free. So there's that, and they also you inspire and enroll other people to be on team with you. You know, you're enrolling your teammates, your ML team. I remember, you know, me and Krishna, we did ML7 Fort Lauderdale, and I remember the first time that we were a small group leader together. It was so much fun, and I deepened my connection with you a lot. I remember that training. I'll never forget it. So you want to enroll your people, enroll your team, create connection. It's amazing. And of course, you'd come to the intro. The intros are no longer required for small group leaders. We have the ML teams own those. And where else would you rather be if we're inviting your small group to be there? They're bringing their guests. They're bringing their family. They're bringing their friends. They're going to want to show you off to them. You're their people. You are their small group leader. Right? So they're going to want to show you off to their significant other, their parents, whoever that they're bringing, their friends, their neighbors. So it's like, where else would you rather be? You get to be somebody for somebody. You get to be that somebody in their life. And then, of course, you inspire service, right? It might even look like if we need door guards, filling up those service slots. Registration, you know, coming to registration in the beginning, maybe an upgrade registration when we're upgrading into Part 2, or if it's a Part 2, upgrading into ML. So that's really, if you want to take it the extra step and turn it up a little notch, this is really where it's at. And if you can also incorporate these, your experience is going to be that much better. It's going to be that much better because you're all in. And when you're all in, you get that much more out of it. Am I right?
Yes, totally right.
Yeah.
And you're also setting an example that we've been talking about, that the value that the intros are, the value that enrolling people into the training are, inspiring other people to come in. And when you're at the intro, like I know, like you've heard us say it a bunch of times, but I can't tell you that it really does matter to them that you're there. Like I'm not saying that as a sales pitch at all. It really matters to them when you're there. And I don't know if a lot of you know, I just wanted to put this in, Jay, that we now have virtual intros.
Oh yeah.
So our intros have changed here at Gratitude Training to where they're once a month. So they're once a month, and sometimes they're only virtual. So it's really cool. I actually just did my first virtual intro event. I think it was about 3 weeks ago.
And I did mine about a week ago.
Yeah, we both each just did one, and they're so different. Like they're so intimate. Like you're literally, it's like the Brady Bunch. You know, like you're on the screen, and I sort of heard the story, and lovely moments. You know, I just kind of wanted to start singing, but I was like, but it's just like, oh, look at that guy, he's petting his dog. Oh, look at that guy, he's actually feeding his cat right now. But he's like, if people are like being enrolled into the training, you know, like why they're home, and it's like really cool. So it's an opportunity that people don't live in South Florida. Like if you have your people in New York, if you have them in other countries, they can join this intro, and there's an email that goes out that they just click on a link. I had a feeling that was going to be a question.
I'm like, wait, how does it work? So people just go and watch it, kind of like a video, or
It's
is
Zoom.
it like a live?
It's Zoom.
Yeah, it's interactive.
It's interactive. So like what it is
It's pretty amazing.
We have a trainer that does the intros, and there's a link. It's emailed every single week. So you want to update your email in your student portal because that is where the emails are going to go for anything that you get from Gratitude Training. But it literally gets an email to you. The link is right in there. You send it to your people, and they click on it. And at 7 p.m., you're all on there in little boxes on the computer, the facilitator, and they actually do exercises to where slides come up. Like we do Dream Vacation and everything, right there, like on the slide. So it's a new thing that we're putting into, and a lot of small group leaders have found it really cool and enrolling for people that are out of state and out of country.
One thing I really like about Gratitude Training, you know, Gratitude Training is really progressive and forward, and they get that things change over time, and we're rolling with the times, and virtual is where it's at lately, so we're tapping into it.
I just have a question. Are there still regular, like, not regular, but like in-person?
Yeah, there are in-person intros as
Okay,
well.
so it's,
Yeah, and it's important that, like, if you bring, not only to show up for your small groups, but bring guests, right? We all have those people that we're having a little trouble either relating to or enrolling. Like the intro can explain it in such a way that it can even be that last little step that they really needed to see what this can do for them and what's available for them as a possibility for their lives to enroll. So that's also another reason why, if not for your small group, do it for yourself and your people.
And like I said, a lot of people that are out of state, this is where it's at. Like, it's amazing that they can attend. Most of our Spanish, like in our Spanish trainings here, they live in Colombia, Ecuador. Like, they're literally flying in from another country, and they saw an intro. I mean, it's the coolest thing. So you guys should check it out the next time we have it. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right, so now we're gonna take a break. Okay, you guys have been sitting for a while. You've heard from us, blah 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 blah. We're gonna take about, what time is it? Yeah. So why don't we? How about everybody come back at 7:10? Is that good enough? All right. 7:10. If you guys need to know, there is a bathroom back here. You need to use it.
Like my latest
You're also
camping event.
needed to 7:10.
Hi, I love you. Oh my God. Hi, I love you 3.
I got pretty humble.
Oh, Mark Olin.
One night, one day it's spring. Yeah, it's spring.
No, we're on a break. So you can definitely have a seat. Yeah, I can. Thank you so much.